Shabbat Shalom. This week's Torah portion is Parashat Chaye Sarah. This Torah portion is well known for two main topics, the first being the purchase of the cave of Machpelah as a burial place for Sarah, who dies at the beginning of the Torah portion, and also the sending of a servant to find a wife for Isaac. One of the things that's been noted by commentators is the unusual name of this Torah portion, Chaye Sarah, which literally translates as the life of Sarah. Of course, we all know that the Torah portion is not about the life of Sarah, but rather about her passing and what happens after her death. So this would seem to be sort of a strange way to name a Torah portion, but the rabbis noted that this is actually reflective of an idea that we find in rabbinic literature, which is called Lashon Sagi Nahor. This is actually Aramaic, and it translates as the language of bright eyes. Bright eyes in Aramaic and in this special way of speaking is actually a euphemism for someone who is blind. You may be familiar with other euphemisms in Jewish literature. For instance, often a cemetery is referred to as a Beit Chaim, which translates as a house of life. Which of course a cemetery is not a house of life, but this is reflective really of a Jewish way of looking at the world, of understanding that there is darkness in the world, that there are things that are difficult. And yet what we try to do is we try to discover the silver lining, to find those points of light where we can make an improvement, where we can try to make the world a better place. This is part of the reason why the national anthem, not only of the state of Israel, but the national anthem of our people is Hatikva, the hope. We have understood throughout centuries of very difficult times of persecution and poverty and being sent out of one country into another country, that we always look for hope. I think this is a particularly compelling message this Shabbat as we are still in the aftermath of the calling the election and the lawsuits and the uncertainty that is following, and also the surge that is going on in the COVID-19. These are all things that are very difficult and dark and painful, and yet our tradition tells us that we should use a little Lashon Sagi Nahor. We should try to look for the areas where there are light, to find places where we can build bridges, to find opportunities to bring goodness into the world, even when it appears to be very difficult. This week at Beth El, the Heights Synagogue, we mark the yahrzeits of Anita Furtman-Paraversky, Mindy Marfisi, Harry Eisman, Beatrice Goodman, Sarah Widzer, Lita Berman, Deborah Lindenbaum, Jenny Gordon, Patty Freed, Alexander Goldman, and Michael J. Margolis. Shabbat Shalom.